Hello, and welcome to this World Nuclear Association interview. My name is Kristina Valen. These interviews help us discuss some of the issues that will be covered during the World Nuclear Association Strategic eForum 2020, which will be held on the 9th, 10th, and 11th of September. To find out more about the event and to see more of these interviews, please visit our website. This interview will focus on the discussion of the third panel of the Strategic eForum, which is about maximizing nuclear energy's social, economic, and environmental benefits. Today, I'm joined by Callum Thomas, the Chief Executive Officer of Thomas Thor Associates. Headquartered in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Thomas Thor Associates is a recruitment, executive research, and consulting organization that provides services to the global nuclear industry. So first of all, Callum, thank you very much for being here with us today. I have prepared a number of questions that I'd like to ask you, and if you don't mind, I will proceed with my first one.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
So at the time when the world continues its battle against the COVID-19 pandemic, new perspectives are born on how the governments should stabilize economies, create jobs, and build a greener, more sustainable environment for our planet. How do you see jobs and economic activity in the nuclear energy industry contributing to the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah. Firstly, in summary, I see it contributing, the nuclear industry contributing significantly. I think at the moment, everyone's concern is creating jobs and creating economic activity to avoid the pain of the recessions ahead, which means projects of national importance are now coming up the agenda. And there's nothing really more important than energy security. And so in terms of job creation, whether it is building new nuclear facilities or whether it's maintaining or refurbishing or updating existing ones, whether it is launching or accelerating decommissioning projects, whether it's research and development, there's a lot of work within nuclear that will provide high quality jobs for the long term for people. So it's one new build program alone would provide thousands of jobs during the construction, and then a continued number of jobs throughout the time. And then it's well documented. The last OECD report was talking about for every one job in nuclear, it creates another two or two and a half jobs in the supporting supply chain and economy. So it's nuclear is long term. So it's in terms of supporting the recovery, investing in nuclear now, especially some of the newer technologies like some of the advanced reactors or fusion, these are long projects that are going to go on for a long time. So in a way, it's a way of creating jobs now, but it's not just for the short term. It's not for the next 6 or 12 months. It's for the next decades, and it's creating, exportable skills, exportable capability. So I see this in several countries at the moment. Governments looking to either invest in research and development or building new facilities or decommissioning old ones, and in the process creating really high quality jobs. So we already see it happening, and in our role as a global recruiter and search company in nuclear, it hasn't really slowed down in the pandemic. This work is continuing. It's important work. It's not like some other industries where there's a knee-jerk reaction to cut costs and reduce. Of course, there have been some disruption like everywhere else, but generally the industry is proving very resilient from an employment point of view and generally during the pandemic.
Thank you very much, Callum. So my next question to you is, in your view, how is the perception of employment in the nuclear energy industry changing as concern for the environment increases amongst the world's population?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, because every month we see environmentalists joining the campaign for or the support or the advocacy for nuclear energy. There's one high profile one recently. Zion Lights was one of the leading people within Extinction Rebellion, and is now working for an organization advocating for nuclear. So the perception is changing. And I think in my experience in the last decade of bringing people to work in the nuclear industry from other industries and all around the world. People actually like the nuclear industry. It's not an issue of not liking the idea of working in the industry. It's actually not knowing about it. The nuclear industry it's quite insular in that way. And there's a lot of activity within the industry, but sometimes we're not communicating out on what the opportunities are. And so, of course, people are more concerned about the environment now, and they're looking for ways to support clean energy. And it's becoming apparent that it can't be a silver bullet solution with renewables. It has to be a joint effort, and storage is a part of it, and renewables are part, and nuclear is a part, and energy efficiency is a part. And now people are starting to see that. So what we're seeing, I think, is that as people care more about the environment generally, they then spend a bit more time researching it and looking into it, and they realize that actually nuclear is part of the solution. And so we're finding a general move from people who care about the environment and care about net zero 2050. We're seeing a general increase in interest in nuclear, but we are still seeing, and we've always seen, a general interest in the industry from people who like global, professional, complex, interesting, modern technology using stable career type industries. And we're still seeing that with an increase, which is very welcome, to be honest.
Thank you. And as a follow-up question, I'd like to ask you, people have a tendency of shaping certain opinions about employment in different industries and working environments. Is there anything that we need to educate people about when we specifically talk about employment in the nuclear industry?
That's essentially what my colleagues and I do day in, day out, year in, year out in the industry, is just educating people on what the opportunities are. And it's not difficult, really, because most people are looking for a stable industry where they're not having to worry about their job security every year, where they're going to learn, where they're going to be supported in a collaborative environment, and where they have opportunity to grow. And a lot of people are also interested in the international element of a career now. And all of those are present within nuclear. So our job is actually quite easy. We don't have to go to huge, complex lengths to explain to people. We just say, we find out what's important to them. And normally it's job security, it's flexibility, it's being developed and being supported. And we just explain that really describes the characteristics. So it's not a difficult persuasion, really. It's not difficult to communicate, and the people in the industry kind of are living that. So that's what we do, and I think that's what we could do more of, is just explain that the conditions, the working conditions, and the positives of working in the nuclear industry. And another might be, I don't think people associate nuclear with a clean energy future. So educating on that link is one thing that's important. And also with decommissioning, a lot of people are interested in cleaning up the world, and so remediation and decommissioning is part of cleaning up our world. It's if you like, the oil and gas industry has been putting pollution into the air for decades, whereas the nuclear industry has been putting it in tiny boxes. And so, would you rather the waste was in the air, or would you rather it was in tiny boxes being dealt with by specialists? And that it's kind of educating on those kind of aspects, I think, that people would relate to.
So, in the beginning of our interview, you have outlined some of the social economic benefits from nuclear energy that could support the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Are there any challenges that might prevent us from obtaining these benefits? In other words, are there any boundaries in place that could make it difficult for us to access these benefits? And if so, what is needed to break these boundaries?
It's a good question. And I mean, the number one, which I know the World Nuclear Association is heavily involved in, is around unlocking the funding for nuclear, because it's not included in the green, let's say the green financing deals or everywhere around the world, but increasingly it is becoming financed. But you've got, building a new nuclear power plant is very expensive. It normally involves state support. It's difficult for companies to do it. So one way to unlock the socioeconomic benefits, the clean energy, the energy security, the job creation, the industry creation, is to fund the industry, and that's probably the number one blocker. But it is changing now. You see pension funds now investing in nuclear, and the biggest nuclear plant in the world, Bruce Power in Canada, is half owned by a pension fund, for example. Not many people know that. So investors are starting to become more aware, and governments are starting to realize that they need to invest in order to get the benefits, just like they invest in renewables, just like they invest in other socioeconomic and economic development. So the funding is one. Another is perhaps the public perception of the industry, and this is one where it's understanding that it's about creating clean energy, and it's about remediation. It's about cleaning up from decades before energy creation and nuclear facilities. So it's kind of aligning the mission of the industry to what people want, which is a healthy, clean world of the future. And it's about funding some of the big, expensive projects to help get them going, just like we do in other industries where projects are expensive and complex. So those are probably the two ways to unlock.
Callum, thank you so much for answering my questions. This concludes our interview. As a reminder, please visit our website to learn more about the strategic eForum event, including information on how to register. But for now, I wish you all a great day. Goodbye.